Outside, there was a loud screeching sound like the wind blowing through scary castles. I quickly sat up and looked out of the window. I saw flashing lights in red, orange, and yellow colors. For a moment, I thought I was in a never-ending bad dream. Then, I realized something strange. I lived on the 3rd floor. I jumped out of bed. A thin face looked in through the window. It took me a few seconds to understand how weird this was because I lived high up. The face had long, skinny fingers that tapped on the window, making a sharp noise. Light spun from its eyes like a glowing web, flashing like fire. I stared at them for a moment, feeling like I had looked directly at the sun. I quickly turned away, and when I closed my eyes, I saw shapes because of the bright light. Everything seemed white, except for the shadow of the creature with the spiral eyes burned into my vision. I stumbled around and accidentally knocked over a lamp on my nightstand, breaking it. Scared and crying, I ran to my dad's room. I told him about the monster outside my window. He sighed, got up, and grabbed his pistol. He went into my room, and after a while, he called me. "Come here, Jamie," he said in a stern voice. "I want to show you something." Still scared, I went back into the room. In the window, I saw 2 patterns that looked like swirls and spirals melted into the glass. They were a mix of red, yellow, and orange, shining like tiny sparks above a bonfire. "Did you mess up this window?" my dad asked, his fists clenched. "And you broke your lamp?" His gun was lying beside him. "No, Dad, I promise. There was someone outside," I began to explain. Suddenly, a sharp slap hit my face. "Don't lie to me, you little troublemaker," he growled. "I work hard for this family, and you wake me up with your strange stories and crazy episodes for no reason." Blood started running from my nose, and I tried to pull back, expecting more. But my dad was quick, and he had strong muscles from years of hard work. My friend Yane called it old man strength. His fist hit my stomach, and I bent over, feeling sick. He elbowed me in the back, and I fell to the ground, gasping and crawling away. "Now, don't wake me up again," he shouted as he left, slamming the door behind him. I couldn't sleep after that. I kept looking out the window, but the strange creature didn't appear again that night. I watched the sunrise a few hours later, feeling completely tired. I got up, getting ready for middle school. It felt like I was walking through water, with everything seeming slow and unreal. I saw that many kids were not in our classes. Almost half of the students were missing in some of my classes. I asked a few friends about it. Most of them didn't know more than I did, but a few had heard some rumors. "I heard there's a strange disease going around," my friend Frank told me in the hallway. "My brother works as an EMT, and he says 911 was getting lots of calls. He wouldn't tell me exactly what was wrong with the people, but he says it was really bad." "What made it so bad?" I asked. He shrugged. "They kept bleeding from their eyes, noses, mouths, everything. I don't know what causes that. Maybe it's like Ebola or some secret Chinese virus, but the doctors at the hospitals couldn't find anything wrong with the people, except that they were bleeding for no reason." "So did they die?" I asked, feeling horrified. He nodded. "Yeah, a few. Most of them didn't, though. I don't really know all the details, man." He was pretty vague about it. He looked more scared than I've ever seen him before, and he's seen a lot of tough stuff in that job. Lots of dead people, gunshot victims, overdoses, everything. But he said he's never seen anything like this before. That night, I quickly fell asleep because I was so tired. When I woke up, I was confused, and there were flashes of light in my eyes. I looked out the window and saw the same creature as before floating in the air. His face looked stretched out, like a giant egg. 2 cyclonic eyes sent out streams of light, spinning like spiral galaxies in space. The colors of fire that shone from those eyes looked pretty and mesmerizing, but they were also blinding. I saw a big, grinning mouth that kept talking, and 2 small holes for a nose, like a reptile's. His teeth looked small and straight, like a child's teeth, but there were too many of them. Hundreds of tiny white pearls sparkled in that grin, set in yellow gums with black spots. From his back, 2 black, raggedy wings stretched out, filled with holes and rippling slowly in the breeze. They reminded me of a bat's wings, jet black with sores that leaked dark fluid down to the grass far below. I watched this strange blood drip off the sharp edges of the wings, thick like oil and shining with rainbows. They ended in a point like a scalpel. "Don't be scared, Jame. My name is Mr. Robert," the creature said in a voice like thunder, "and I am your guardian angel. I am here to help protect you from the evil that now invades your town. Without my help, you will most surely die." Mr. Robert shared a lot of things with me. His loud voice felt like it could shake the floor, and I worried it might wake up my dad. But Mr. Robert reassured me that only the person he talked to could hear him. Our communication happens in your mind and my mind. Even though it may seem like it's coming from outside of you, it's within you. It's a bit like hearing your heartbeat in your ears. That heart is still inside you. And I am the same. You and I are one. In a way, I am closer to you than your own heartbeat. I can see all the dark pits in your soul, where black twisted things grow in the shadows. We all have that, Jame. It should be embraced, not shunned. But as your guardian angel, he said, I have to tell you some bad news. There's an outbreak of Satan's leprosy in your town. I struggled not to laugh. Satan's leprosy? I asked, puzzled. Is that a real disease? The more I looked into Mr. Robert's eyes, the more I felt myself trusting him and opening up to him. I couldn't believe how scared I was before. In a strange way, he looked beautiful, and the more I watched him, the more I felt myself accepting his presence. However, a small part of my mind, tucked away in the back, still questioned many things he claimed, including being my guardian angel. But the more he talked, the more I felt myself getting lost and falling under his spell. Oh yes, Jame, yes, he said slowly. Satan's leprosy is the worst disease, the mark of Cain, the touch of the devil. His eyes blinked and flashed, casting shadows like black, reaching hands dancing across the room. Everything felt dreamy and unreal. I'll do everything I can to protect you, Jame, Mr. Robert said. But soon, you may have to start fighting on the side of the good. You might have to prove your skill in killing demons. Can you try to kill some evil, dirty demons, Jame? In my mind, I saw visions of knights on a holy crusade, saints warding off evil spirits and priests burning witches. I can try, I said, giving Mr. Robert a friendly smile. As of Mr. Robert, I noticed suspicious black SUVs with tinted windows hanging around the town borders that morning. Then my friend Yana rushed over to my house, knocking frantically on the door. My dad, a mechanic who owned his own shop, had already gone to work, so with school canceled, I found myself home alone for the day. Yana's dark brown eyes looked excited and wild, filled with fear and adrenaline. My parents, he said breathlessly. There's something wrong with my family. They won't stop bleeding, and their eyes, their faces, they're all wrong, Jame. Something bad is happening. I remembered Mr. Robert's warning about Satan's leprosy, and my stomach churned with anxiety. What do you mean, their eyes, their faces? I asked, taking a step back. Sweat was running down his chubby face, and his long hair hung over his forehead in wet clumps. He was breathing fast, bent slightly over. Their eyes slid halfway off their face during the night. When they woke up, their faces were sideways. Their mouths drooped down to the right, and their noses looked like stretched-out worms. Their bodies were turning into jelly, and the blood wouldn't stop coming out of their eyes, mouths, and noses. It soaked the floor. Yana began to cry, breathing really fast. I thought he might faint. You've got to be kidding me, I said, feeling gross and sick. No disease does that to a human body. That's physically impossible. He shook his head. It wasn't just my family. My neighbors, too. Their kids got sick. I tried calling Angela and Mike and a few other people, but none of them are answering their phones. Just then, I heard the sound of many engines revving. I saw the black SUVs with tinted windows slowly driving down every street. A pre-recorded robotic voice started speaking from hidden speakers. A 24-hour curfew is now in effect for this area. A cold, robotic female voice said. This town is now quarantined. Anyone found on the streets will be subject to immediate arrest. Return to your homes and stay inside. Do not leave for any reason. Agents will soon come to talk to you and explain everything. Please remain calm. Return to your homes and stay inside. Do not leave for any reason. I pulled Jana inside, slamming the door and locking the deadbolt. I had a feeling my father wouldn't be coming home today. The sun went down early that day, painting the clouds red like blood from a crime scene. Yana and I sat at the kitchen table. The TV wasn't working because the cable was down, and our phones had stopped working too, but the electricity was still on. We were eating the perishable foods first just in case the power went out too. I had sliced turkey, mayo, cheddar, lettuce, bread, and milk. We were eating the perishable foods first just in case the power went out too. I had sliced turkey, mayo, cheddar, lettuce, bread, and milk. We kept eating and drinking as much as we could while we waited, not knowing how long we might be stuck here or if more food would come. As we ate, I told Yana about Mr. Robert. "He has eyes like an angel," I said. At first I was scared, but after he talked to me and explained everything, well, I don't feel scared anymore. Jana gave me a weird look. "I thought angels had white wings and swords and looked like Leonardo DiCaprio," Jana said, frowning. "Your angel sounds like some sort of monster. No offense." I laughed. "That's all Hollywood stuff," I said. "Mr. Robert says all the angels look like him. Maybe you'll see your own guardian angel before all this is over." Yana shuddered. "If he looks anything like your guardian angel, I really hope not," he said. "And what did he mean by killing evil, filthy?" A loud slam at the door made us both jump. I got up from the table and ran over to the peephole. Standing at the door, I saw Yanni's older brother, Rendi. He was still in his medic's uniform, with bloodstains on the white cloth. Tiny splatters covered his hands and feet. His dark eyes looked scared and excited. He ran a blood-stained hand over his freshly shaved head. I ripped the door open, noticing how black and empty the sky looked behind him. "Rendi, what are you doing here?" I asked, surprised. He pushed past me. "Is my brother here?" "Where's Jana?" he said, sounding panicked. Jana came out of the kitchen, still holding a half-eaten sandwich. "Oh, thank God, Jana, you're still alive." "Yeah," Jana said, talking with a full mouth and raising an eyebrow. "So far, so good. My goal is to live forever, after all, and I've done a pretty good job up to now." "Stop fooling around," Rendi yelled, making us both jump. "Do you two not know what's going on outside? Everyone is dying. We need to get out of town right away. The roads are blocked off, but I don't think they've blocked off the woods yet. At least I hope not. The government agents, or whatever they are still organizing, and we need to leave before the town gets surrounded. There's a deer trail next to Witt School that leads to the highway. It's probably 8 or 9 miles, but we don't have a choice. We need to follow it and get out of town before everyone gets locked in and slaughtered like pigs." "What do you mean everyone is dying? How are Mom and Dad?" Yana asked, his eyes getting wet. Rendi just shook his head, his earring with a snake fang swinging back and forth. "We need to go right now. Hurry up, both of you. Grab food and water and anything else you need. Are there any guns in this house? We really need guns and ammo as much as possible." "I have my .38 on me," he said, lifting his shirt to show a holstered pistol, "but I only have 1 spare magazine. That's not enough." I nodded. "My dad keeps a few guns here," I said. "He always has his Colt with him, though. But I think we have a 12-gauge shotgun and a little .22 rifle upstairs. He usually keeps some buckshot and 22 bullets for target shooting." I shrugged. "I guess it's better than nothing." Rendi groaned. "A 22? He asked, narrowing his eyes. "Really? Well, go grab it." I got the guns from my father's closet, bringing down all the ammo I could find, which was only 2 partily empty boxes. Rendi groaned even louder when he saw that. "Okay, which one of you is a better shot?" he asked me and Janne. We looked at each other. "I guess I am, at least with a BB gun," Jana said. Rendi handed the 22 and ammo to him, giving me the shotgun and the remaining buckshot. "Then you should take the shotgun," Rendi said to me. You only need to point in the general direction and shoot. It will spray pellets that will rip through skin like butter. Why do we need guns? I asked, feeling anxious. You haven't even told us what's happening. Rendy looked up sharply. Haven't I? Well, there's not much time. We need to go now. I can tell you on the way. We stepped out into the dark, a night without the moon. I noticed the glinting of many teeth in the backyard shadows. Mr. Robert, I called out, relieved. Rendy and Yana turned to see the creature. He emerged from a hidden spot next to the chimney, his skinny body standing 10 feet tall. His eyes began spinning with their mesmerizing light, and his bat-like wings lazily moved up and down in the light breeze. I'm so happy to see you. Rendy and Yana slowly backed away, their eyes filled with horror. Chummy, Mr. Robert said. I would never leave your side, Jam. I am here to protect you. I walked forward as if in a dream, reaching out to hug Mr. Robert. He placed his hands on my neck, pulling me closer. They felt like cold, melting gloves of candle wax against my skin. As I hugged his flesh tightly, I felt blood draining from his decaying skin like soapy water from a wrung-out sponge. I sensed the dark, oily fluid running down my bare hands and arms, and smelled the unpleasant odor like rotting meat. Yet I still only felt complete love for Mr. Robert. Jammy, a deep, growling voice said behind me. I turned and saw my father climbing over the backyard fence. He looked at Rendy and Johnny, dismissing them with his eyes. Then he turned to me and Mr. Robert, holding his Colt revolver in one trembling hand. Step back from the demon. I looked closely at my father. Blood flowed from his eyes, ears, nose, and mouth. His eyes seemed slanted, as if the skin had melted off at an angle on his face. His words were slurred, and his lips were swollen and uneven. Don't you see what it is, Jammy? My father cried louder. Look at it. Look at the darn thing. It's not your friend. He fired a shot, but his shaky hand couldn't aim well. I saw Yana's chest burst in a spray of blood. Jana reached for the bullet hole, surprise on his face, and then he fell back. Now is the time, Jammy, Mr. Robert's voice roared in my mind. Kill the demons. Kill these evil, filthy, disgusting demons. Shoot them dead. Both of them. I raised the shotgun and fired twice. Mr. Robert and I walked down the deer trail, hand in hand. Love filled my heart, and I felt a sense of peace. I knew I was protected. We found a couple of agents in the forest trying to monitor the trail. When they saw us, they raised guns and shouted. But Mr. Robert flew forward, his wings beating the air like mini cyclones. He grabbed both of their heads and twisted. I heard a sound like the snapping of tree branches during an ice storm, and they fell down, their faces backward. I believe Mr. Robert comes from God. I have decided to follow him like a holy knight on a crusade. Mr. Robert is my guardian angel, and his voice always guides me to safety, a voice like rushing water. How did you feel when Rendy and Yana encountered the supernatural events in the backyard? How did the use of guns and violence in the story impact your perception of the characters and the unfolding events? What do you think about the protagonist's decision to follow Mr. Robert and the resolution of the story? Hungry for more thrills? Subscribe now for spine-chilling stories that will keep you up at night.